Welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name is Grant. Today I'm unboxing a game that came out last year that I haven't gotten around to playing or doing anything with. Surprise, surprise. We play a lot of games and do a lot of things, but I can't necessarily get every game immediately once it's released out to you, or even get them all tabled. But the game is Banish All Their Fears, and it is a new series, the first volume in that new series. The series is the Bayonet and Musket series, volume number 1, designed by David Fox and Ben Hull. This game deals with specifically the 1690s to early 1700s, basically the War of the League of Augsburg period, and then the War of the Spanish Succession. This is an offshoot of the Bayonet and Pike series, also designed by Ben Hull. But I think the difference here is that this deals with larger engagements, larger armies, larger battles, whereas the other one dealt with smaller engagements. So this game specifically focuses on 2 different battles. One is near Venden, July 29th of 1693, and the other is Blenheim, August 13th of 1704. Both in different years, both in different wars. And as you know, we all know, it seems like Europe had their share of wars over the years, all different types and lengths, and this series attempts to cover these 2 battles, and I think there are future volumes that are coming out in this series as well. I will say I very much enjoy the aesthetic of this burgundy red box with this historical picture put in the middle. Nothing fancy, but I do enjoy the gold yellow lettering and the style of font. I think it stands out really well, pops, and really makes me want to get into this game, understand it, and even play it. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and flip it over. This is in one of their 1-inch boxes, so it's a smaller war game in regards of space. Doesn't mean that the game is small in and of itself, but there's not as many components. It doesn't have a hard-mounted map. It uses paper maps, etc. But a look at the back of the box here. Here's some of the counters. Here's a look at the Blenheim battlefield map. You can see nothing fancy. Pretty large, covers a good-sized area, and it looks very clear. We'll look at that here in just a minute. The game is a 2-player game. Takes 3 to 7 hours for each of these scenarios. So yeah, they're pretty involved, pretty big. There's a lot of units. So this is going to be a big game, right? There's going to be a lot of maneuvering and a lot of combat, and that's very, very cool. Let's go ahead and get it open. I just love the box. I think it looks really good. Can't wait to get it, once again, get it organized, clipped, and then get it played. First thing we see here are 2D10. They are gray. I think those are pretty nice-looking gray 10-siders. Love the black lettering there, and then a bag o' baggies. The rules here, pretty good thick paper, not glossy. 24 pages, has a good table of contents here so that you can read through the different areas that you need to find when you're going through these battles. Good introduction, counter anatomy, always a good thing. Some of the abbreviations used, a discussion about the different components and the counters. There's a sequence of play, some examples of the command display. I'll show you those here in just a moment. A couple of examples, full color examples, I might add. And I also do like design notes. So there's some of these that are highlighted that give you an insight into the history. And then there's some also important areas that are highlighted in red with a red box around them. Here's a section about orders. Facing is very important. Movement. Artillery. There's lots of that. Combat. Linear warfare. and so on. Firefights, cavalry momentum, infantry versus cavalry. And then there is a rules index at the very back, so you can find the specific things. And then there's a terrain effects chart on the very last page. So yeah, there's the rules of play, followed by a playbook, which is going to have the setup of the different scenarios. We don't necessarily need to go into all of those. But here's Neervinden first, followed by Blenheim. And you can see those are all the units, the regiment and the commanders that are in charge and where they are to be placed. Whether they're in various hexes or... And it's kind of an OOB as well, just to give you a good feel for the size of the games. There's a lot of units. This is a big, big battle. Page after page after page of units. Here is Blenheim's 1704. Kind of the same thing. Page after page of units and their setup. Also gives a little bit of rules description and an example of some of the combats, key design features, and then a detailed example of play at the end. Full color detailed. That's a big Hex Encounter war game. Gonna be cool. Yeah. I know Alexander talked to Ben Hull about this a couple of years ago at WBC. I know that Ben was very excited about it. There's a counter manifest and then a look at both of the battle maps. So let's go ahead and pull out. These are the play aids. Quite a few of them. And then we have basically counters and the maps themselves. So this is for Neervinden. This is the command sheet. Laid out there. It is double-sided, so on the other side is Blenheim. So you're going to have your rows of units when they get into combat. And as you maneuver and move those, you're going to... Yeah, and obviously there's the red side and the blue side. You've also got several different player aids. There are 2 different player aids. This is kind of the CRT combat tables and artillery as well. You flip that over and you've got cavalry, CRTs, some of the DRMs also listed. So very nice to have 2 play aids. And then here are command and movement tables, terrain effects chart, command and movement for leaders, charging, how it's done, armor or type modifiers. So yeah, 2 more play aids, so 4 total play aids. And then this is kind of a turn track, for lack of a better word. It is basically for both of the battles, and you're going to track the hours and the minutes there, and then the different phases at the bottom. Looks like artillery is first, wing activations, brigade activations, routed unit markers, victory, and then reset. So not an overly complex sequence of play. There are a bunch of counter sheets, right? There are 6 full counter sheets. These are not half counter sheets. Now they are bigger, slightly larger counters. I want to say these are 3/4 of an inch, or maybe half an inch. Yeah, half an inch. But they're a little bit bigger. They look nice. That's sheet number 6. This first page is literally just administrative markers: panic, casualties, breaches, depth, fire markers, all double-sided as well. And then you get into the units. Nice looking units. I like the counter. I like seeing the little formations shown up on the counters with the commander leader shown there. These look like they're French units. Here's some of the leaders over here. Some of the special units like the cavalry, a little bit smaller units. And then firefight markers, committed markers. More French units on counter sheet 3. Once again, all double-sided. looking good. And then these are Scottish troops, Hanoverian, so some German Hessians, right? Some Dutch troops. Looks like a little bit of everything. Beautiful counters, love the colors. Back to French, sheet 5, and then sheet 6. Yeah, I really like the look of those counters, very cool. Like the commanders down here, there's Marlborough, probably one of the more famous of the leaders of these battles. And then we come down to the end, and we have the board. They are paper maps, but that's how it was able to fit in a, in a 1-inch box. Didn't need a bigger box because you don't have mounted map boards. I know a lot of people really want mounted map boards. I like mounted map boards, don't get me wrong, but I also like a good 1-inch box or 2-inch box because I don't have tons of shelf space, if you know what I'm saying. So here's a look at that Blenheim board. Now, we looked at this on the back of the box itself. I wanted to pull this up. Really great little detail there on the village cities. Really like how the hexes seem to stand out. Not sure if these are bombard lines. A lot of times they'll do that in these kind of games that have heavy artillery. They might be setup lines as well, just kind of guiding and directing you. Really like the detail in the woods. I think it looks very good. So that's Blenheim. So this is the later of the two battles. And then on the other side, you have Neervenden. And I know I'm pronouncing those correctly. Nice looking board as well. A little more monotone, not as many trees. They do have some of the larger villages in the area. Some copse of trees, but not a whole lot. There again, there are these blue and red lines. Yeah, big board, lots of units. I mean, with this many counter sheets, these are going to be huge battles. And once again, remember when I read the introduction to the series and shared with you, basically Ben made this series to deal with larger engagements that the bayonet and pike series didn't necessarily deal with. So I think that's kind of cool. But there you have it. Banish All Their Fears. Cool looking game. Big game. Big war game, which is always good. Very much appreciate you watching. This is from GMT Games. If I didn't say that, I think I did. So appreciate you watching. I have been Grant for the Player's Aid.